professor, committee, my advisor, my friend, and dear my beloved audience. So in this kind of occasion, I would like to present our topic related to psychometric properties of sleep condition indicator for insomnia in survivor in Indonesia. So she is my advisor. I call her beautiful advisor. Always motivate me. And then, as we know that insomnia is highly prevalent following stroke. So the prevalence is up to 40% following stroke. And the sleep condition indicator is a quite new and useful instrument in clinical screening for insomnia, and it's basically developed based on the DSM-5, the updated criteria for insomnia diagnostic. And until now, the SGI have been translated into 4 different languages. However, thus far, this questionnaire is not yet translated into Indonesian-speaking population and also in stroke population. And that's why we aim to examine these psychometric properties of Indonesian version of sleep condition indicator in stroke survivor. And we conduct this study in a stroke center in Indonesia, and we collect in total 108 adults with stroke. And in the beginning, we diagnosed the insomnia using DSM-5, using the structure interview with DSM-5 criteria. And all participants are required to complete a battery of questionnaire, including the Indonesian version of SGI, and then ISI, Insomnia Severity Index, and for anxiety we use General Anxiety Disorder, and for depression we use the Patient Health Questionnaire. And we also use the Spearman correlations to correlate between the ISG, Indonesian SGI, to other questionnaire in here. And we also did the receiver operating characteristic, ROC curve, and we also estimate combat alpha. And we use the ICC to correlate the 2 time points within the 7 days interval. And finally, we use the EFA to evaluate the content validity. And here is the result. The mean age of stroke population is 56, and like we see in here, most of them, more than half of them is male population, and most of them is already get married. And if we see here, the time to stroke is 6.2 months, and most of the population is diagnosed with ischemic stroke type. We also did the self-report one single item questionnaire to see, and we can see here the sleeping problem, they report about 31%. And here is the correlation table between SGI and the 3 other questionnaire for insomnia, anxiety, and depression. And we see that Indonesian version of SGI have negatively correlated significantly with the 3 questionnaire in here. And in other depths, we also explore the best cutoff points according to the DSM-5. So based on the previous evidence, we explore the cutoff point from less or equal than 16 until less or equal than 24. And from this data set, we find that the cutoff point less than or equal than 22 is the best cutoff point. We calculate this cutoff point using the Jordan index. And here, as you see in the figure, the ROC figure, we found that the cutoff point 22, 23, and 24 line in the same line in here. And it means that we're going to use the cutoff point 22 equal or less than 22. And here we also explore the internal consistency. We see that the SGI total for Indonesian version is good, 0.887. And for the interclass correlations, so as I mentioned, we did the interval between the 7 days for the time point 2, and we found that the test-retest reliability is also so good, and 0.781, and suggesting that the first and second time point were significantly associated, and that's why the Indonesian version of SGIs exhibit favorable temporal stability over time. And here I just want to show you, we also see the factor analysis using the eigenvalue greater than 1. So from here we know that the Indonesian version of SGI have to factor. Here item 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8 belong to factor 1, and the second factor 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. And here, for your information, this is the Indonesian version of sleep condition indicator, and this is actually the original version. So it only consists of 8 items and easy to calculate and also easy to use. And to remind you, in conclusions, our participants have been age of 56, and the Indonesian version of SGI has significantly inverse relationship between the ISI, GAD for anxiety, and PSQ for depression. And then the cutoff point 22 or less than is have good sensitivity and also good specificity. And we also found that Indonesian version of SGI also have good internal consistency with comma alpha 0.887, and it also have good test-retest reliability. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, it has two factors related to sleep and the daytime effect. So we conclude that Indonesian version of SGI demonstrates satisfactory psychometric properties, and we found that it's correctly identified the individual with insomnia following stroke survivor, and that's why we recommend to use the Indonesian version of SGI in clinical setting among Indonesian's population. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Mr. Hassan presentation. Any question from audience?